My first 90 days, it wasn't easy for me, bro. Like, I got picked on and I didn't really know how to move and shit. So this time, that's why I got shipped out, because I was like, nobody's doing that. Yeah, I was just young and stupid. And then I was like, oh, when I came back, I was like, it was always like I'm gonna prove myself more and more and more and more. Like, the next thing's gonna be better. The next thing, so my identity and persona got lost in that, like, translation of, like, this is who I think I am.
Gotcha. Got a moment when they see you down, just know they love it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke, and I got a special guest with me today. So why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself.
My name's Corey O'Reilly. I'm from Norwood, Massachusetts. Grew up right outside the city. To be honest with you, I struggled for a long time on accepting the fact that I was like adopted. Felt like abandoned at a young age, and felt like I wasn't worth it, So like I struggled with that for a long time, and which then intended to lead into like drug addiction, serious drug addiction, and at that point, that's really what blossomed me to be who I am today, though. Absolutely. So like it's like I'm grateful for those experiences.
Absolutely. It seems like a lot of fighters too, they always got like a story, you know what I mean? For Bernard Hopkins in boxing, but just Francis Ngannou. I mean, everybody got a story.
Yeah, like they come from like, because I feel like being a fighter, like, and I always was a fighter. You know what I mean? Like even before I started training and like in the streets, like when I was younger, man, I used to get my ass beat all the time. Growing up, like I got jumped in school, like, you get it, you know what I'm saying? And but you always had like a point to prove. You know what I mean? And I always wanted to like fit in. Growing up in Mass, like that's kind of how it is, Like if you want to like be anybody, if you're not gonna be anybody, you gotta at least be that, And you gotta show up for yourself. And like I was real good at sports too, and that was like another thing. Like with being a fighter, you gotta be athletic.
Okay. Talk about the next fight you got coming up. When is that? Who's your opponent? What if people want to see it? Where is it at?
Yeah, it's in the Shriners Auditorium in Wilmington, Mass, June 13th. It starts at 6 p.m. If you can't even show up to that, though, there's a link. It's called swerve.tv. You could watch it on like the prelims online and stuff like that.
Nice.
So.
Absolutely. So how long you been doing that for now?
About 3 years.
3 years?
3 years, yeah, a little over. Pretty consistently though.
Okay.
Like not taking time off,
Okay, so growing up in Norwood, you were adopted, right?
Yep.
I mean, at what point do you find this out? You know what I mean? And who were these people to you? Was it family? Were they strangers? I guess get a little bit into that.
Yeah, like once I was old enough to know I was adopted, like it was like maybe 9, 10 years old, like understanding that,
right.
They were good people, Irish Catholic, right? They were great people. It was, it was on me, you know what I'm saying? And the relationship, crumbled and it was on me. I look at it as like, looking back in life, like from everything I've been through, like God always intercepted at some point. Like I'm a big God guy, like big spirituality, spirit of the universe, whatever you want to call it, right? That's what I believe in, and they saved me from the trenches. I can just remember at like a young age almost being cursed by the devil. Like already feeling like I was already fucked, so right around like 11, 12 is when like those behaviors started.
Gotcha.
Maybe even a little bit before, like I was addicted to Pokemon cards.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean? Like I had to have the Pokemon cards. I remember I was like mad young. I got in a fight down at the Cape House we had like with this next door neighbor kid over like a holographic Charizard. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, I remember those days, man. I remember there was a couple kids that would go around to the pool. I remember they were like stealing people's whole binders. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's cold. You know what I mean?
It was the holographic stuff that people wanted.
But that's cool that you mentioned the addiction part of it, because I believe I feel like that gene is in everybody to be addicted to something. But like whatever your life is and circumstances may be, like some people get addicted to school really hard. Some people are workaholics, and then some people are alcoholics. And addicted to the streets, drug addicts. So I feel like that predisposition to be addicted to something is always there, but life is life.
How you gonna channel it?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how I look at even like right now for me, like working out. I'm sure like that must be something having to train the way you train. I mean, there's got to be some sort of almost addictive personality or addictive part of you that draws you to that? Because it takes quite the commitment, right? Is that a fair
sure.
assessment?
Oh, 100%. With kids too, and a family, and like trying to redeem myself from my past escapades. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to like really like dig myself out the hole. Like it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of sacrifice. And I mean, if I'm gonna shout anybody out, it's my girl and my kids. Like that, you know, my girl, as much as she loves it for me, but I know she doesn't love it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, bro, I work, and if I'm, you know,
she loves that you love it.
She loves that I love it, man. But I know it's taking time from her, so I'm trying to figure that balance out.
Absolutely.
You know, because I'll go to work all day, then train for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Then I come home and I fall asleep on the recliner.
Right.
Like,
and to be fair too, women need attention. Children, you know, everybody needs attention. So, curious to that household growing up, right? Like this family, did they have children that were like brothers or like siblings to you, or could they not have children? Is that why they adopted? Talk a little bit about what you think was going on there.
Yeah, that's actually the reason. Was my mother couldn't have kids.
Okay.
She had like problems with her thyroid at a young age, and I think that like made it a problem to be able to like have kids. So like at a young age, like obviously they wanted to have a family, you know, and they ended up adopting both me and both my sisters from separate families. Not good people don't do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, they had problems of their own, you know. I feel like I definitely took the cake when it came down to being the black sheep. But today I'm sure they're proud of me. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like I'm all those prayers my mother and father were probably praying.
Was church a big part of your childhood with them growing up? Did you get to go to church? And
yeah, it was more like I didn't want to go to church.
Right.
It was Irish Catholic, you know. It's very like, oh, if you do this wrong, you're going to hell. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to hell, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like I must be going to hell.
Right.
You know. Yeah. So I never really wanted to go, and like, you know, come that teenage life, like those years, like it was like rebelling was real.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sure you strayed away.
Yeah, I pushed
from
them
the church at that time, and
from the church, from them, from anything righteous.
Yeah,
you know, anything good. It felt like I was like, if it looked like it was like kind and compassionate, I was like, you're a weirdo.
Yeah,
like, and that's how I know I was tainted. Like my heart, my soul was tainted by something. Okay. Like, I was still a nice kid, right? Like I would clean up, I'd do nice things for my mom. Like I'd get her flowers sometimes, because that's what my dad did. I did what I seen, you know. But I also have the genetics of like my bloodline.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask about that. Like, at what point do you eventually start to get curious about who where you come from, your bloodline, and all that, and how does that like pan out, or is? Yeah.
So I ended up reuniting with my biological father at 28. So I'm 33 now. So about 5 years ago, that relationship didn't stick. All good. I needed the experience, right? Like, and at the time, I still wasn't ready to man up myself. So it's like when you're 28 years old and you went day in and day out trying to figure out like who your parents were, and then you actually get a taste of what everybody was kind of saying, and they're like, oh yeah, like I told you so, you know? Gotcha. And my mother died she died from heroin overdose.
Wow.
In 97, I think.
Damn.
In Fall River. So it was like, I used to get envious of dudes, like kids growing up that were real tight with their mom.
Yeah.
Because I was never real tight with my parents. Like I said, like they were like good people, and anything righteous, I felt stay away from me. Yeah. But at the same time, I wanted that. You know, I was very confused.
No, I get that.
You know,
how did you do as far as like as a student, as far as like the schoolwork goes? Were you a good student, bad student? Did you misbehave? What was going on there?
Yeah, so it was definitely, I was good up until I went to public schools. I went to St. Catherine's in Norwood from like 2nd grade to 5th grade. You know, I had the tie, you had to wear the tie with everything, and the special shoes or whatever. And then I went to public school, and like that persona had to change, you know? I listened to, like, my first album I ever bought was Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. My mother made me buy the edited version. I was pissed, you know? And everything changed, like, fighting right away. It was like, this little Catholic school boy that, used to go to family parties and everybody loved, like, quickly changed into like this little menace who couldn't stay in a class to save his life. Wow. You know, I had so much energy, bro. Yeah. I didn't know what to do with it, you know? Like, I love playing sports, but at the same time, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Very selfish, you know? And I felt justified to be selfish, because, like, at that point, I knew I was adopted. Right. I used that as the victim role.
Absolutely.
You know? And I used
justify
that
your poor actions.
Exactly.
And, So were you getting into fist fights and everything in school as well? Like?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was the first week. I got expelled the first month. It was like the first week of 7th grade. Okay. It was like I got into like back-to-back. You know, I got suspended for like a day, and then I went back, got into another fight, got suspended for a week, went back, got into another fight, but got jumped this time. And I wasn't staying in school, so my parents made the like decision to be like, let's put them in like, you know, I went to alternative schools. Okay. You know, where and I went to some schools, man, that were like, I mean, they tried their best, but it was like, looking back on it, man, they were like an institution. Yeah. So like right off the rip, I'm feeling institutionalized, you know? Yeah. You know, so you put Irish Catholic institution with a kid who's been, you know, through a lot of shit already, you know, and role models were few and far between. Okay. You know, looking at my father today, like, he's a good man, like that's somebody I'm attracted to. But back then, it was like, it wasn't like he was a righteous man. Why would I want to be that? You know? So
did the alternative school experience roll over into high school, or did you ever get a chance to go to a regular public high school as well? Or
yeah, I played sports for normal public schools, right? Because I was good at sports, and like, you know, and then I even played sports for like the little like you know, the little get-up teams they had at these alternative schools. And we were good, too, because we were a bunch of troubled kids that, like, played, you know, there were kids that came from, like, Dorchester and, like, you know, Arlington and different parts of the city that came to, like, the schools I went to. So we were just a bunch of, like, rugged little kids playing other rugged little kids, you know? And it was like, it was fun games, I remember, you know?
Absolutely. Did you end up graduating from high school?
It was kind of, I was talking to my buddy on the phone before this, and we were talking about somebody he knew. It was kind of one of those things where it was like, just get to school. If you can get to school, we'll give you your diploma. Yeah. Like, please, just get to school and act right, you know? Absolutely. And that's what happened, but I actually recently was trying to find my diploma for something, and they can't even find me in the system. Wow. So I'm like,
did you get to walk the stage and everything? Or not even?
No, I didn't. Yeah, they were like, you can attend the ceremony, but you can't be a part of. Like, you could be there, but so I'm like, whatever, bro. Okay, you know.
Hey, it happens. I was fortunate enough. I made it, man. I made it on stage after I was arrested at my prom on a warrant and stuff like that. Bailed out, went back. You
but
know,
at the time, you probably felt like,
you know, shit, it was cool. But you know, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't. It's not like nowadays where I feel like these kids get these great parties and stuff like that. I think I was taken out for like a dinner at a sub shop that I eat at 5 nights a week anyway. You know, whatever. It was what it was. Yeah. But so what was the plan after high school? Did you have a plan? What was the idea, and did it work out that way?
No plan, really. Yeah, because my parents, the minute I turned 18, I got arrested for my first time, like a month after my 18th birthday. And it was like, the situation wasn't serious, but on paper it looked serious, you know? And it was a punk move. Like, I tried to rob this kid with another kid that I used to hang with. And, you know, right then and there, like, I went off the deep end at that point because they kicked me out. Yeah. Right, I'm 18. They don't legally need to shelter me no more.
Let me get behind the mindset of this robbery, right? At this point, was it an active addiction, or was it just being, you know,
just being young and dumb, bro?
Got you.
You know, I wasn't even, bro, I was smoking weed. Yeah. Smoking weed and cigarettes. It was just for the thrill. Yeah. You know?
All right, I was curious about that. So what ends up happening? You said that your parents kicked you out, and now, like, so where do you end up staying? How does life work for you?
It was brutal because I realized at that time, looking back, like, man, like, I didn't have real friends, you know? Like, I knew a lot of people, and, like, the friends that I could have had were like, nah, you know? They were like, you're too reckless. And the friends that I did have, they weren't real friends. And it was like, I just needed somebody, you know? And I didn't have nobody for years. And it was like, at that point, I can remember being 18, like sleeping outside, like using the shopping carts at TJ Maxx as like a barricade so I could just like be warm because it was mad cold out, right? My birthday's in October. At this point, it was like November and it was cold, bro. And I had a hoodie and jeans on. Like I should have been in school,
right?
You know what I mean? But I'm out sleeping outside. And that was an executive decision my parents had to make for the savior of themselves, right? Like for their sanity.
And how old are like your sisters at that time too? Was it to like save them as well? Are you the older brother? Or?
No, I was the middle.
Okay.
So my younger sister still was like a teenager.
Okay.
She's 5 years younger than me, and my older sister's 13 years older.
Okay.
So she at this point was kind of on her own. Yeah, I can just remember.
And then at this time, what happens with this case, this open case? They charge you with.
Yep. So they charged me with it was something weird. It was like unarmed conspiracy and attempt. It was like unarmed conspiracy and attempt to commit a crime or something like that.
Yeah.
Because what happened was they found the kid told that I had a rock in my jacket, which I did, and then I ended up kind of owning up to that. I was like, yeah, bro, I had a rock in my pocket, you know, and I mean, I don't know what I was planning on doing with it because he ended up like just kind of fleeing the scene anyways. And it was just like a dumb move, you know? It was just dumb.
Didn't plan it out.
Didn't plan it out. And it was over like back in the day, it was a sidekick.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's what we were going to get, bro.
Yeah, the sidekick.
I had one of those. Like it was like petty shit.
What ends up coming? You get probation?
Yeah, so I ended up getting probation. My parents were still kind of like trying to like be there for me. So they ended up like getting a lawyer. I ended up getting like supervised probation. It was like, there was no like time or anything because it was my first time getting, but it was like supervised probation, drug testing. Like basically I was like being whipped by the courts at this point, right? So I went to like different programs, was like in and out of these places, kept kind of like smoking weed, taking pills, like stupid pills, like sniffing trazodones and shit, like doing that institution shit. And so I ended up doing time because it was like I did 4 months in Dedham.
You violated?
Yeah, I violated, and they ended up being like, all right, we're gonna give you like 90 days for this. Okay. Because it wasn't like.
What was the story behind the violation? Was it just drug test?
Yeah, it was drug tests, and I gave in. I'm like, dude, like I can't even make it out here. You know, I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Right. You know, so the judge was nice, man. Because multiple times she would violate me. I'd go to Dedham, for like a few nights, come back. You know, they let me out to a program, something like that. And actually one time I talked my way out of the cuffs, which the CEO in the courtroom was like, bro, she never does that. Wow. So it was like she had a like soft heart towards me, right? My PO didn't, you know, because she's a PO, you know? But looking back on it, man, I got chance after chance. And then that was like my last time, because I caught cases and did time after that. But that was the last chance I ever had of like, this is like the easy way out kind of thing, you know? And then it started getting real, you know?
And then, so what, she gave you, my boy Maddie. So she gave you what, 90 days in Dedham House? Was that what ultimately for the violation? Did that squash your whole probation too?
Yeah, it squashed everything. And then it really did, bro. And because I think it was that paid lawyer or something, bro. Like, I ended up just doing it. It was like time served, and I got out. And there was a guy that worked and he was like a friend. We were close, man. We were cool. He worked at one of the alternative schools. And when I got out, he actually let me stay with him for a little bit. Like, my parents thought that was weird. But I'm like, bro, you ain't letting me stay with you. What do you want me to fucking do, you know? And but it wasn't. He was just a good guy. You know, honestly, like today, I haven't talked to him in years, but like, he's a good dude, bro.
So what ends up happening there? Do you just kind of wear out your welcome or kind of stop?
100%. You know, like he asked to like simple, basic shit, like get a job, you know, don't fucking get high in his house, like clean up after yourself, just basic everyday shit. And I couldn't even do that. I just wanted to smoke weed and hang out with people and fucking fuck off and, you know.
So then what happens? Is it back to just kind of being on the streets?
Back to the streets. So now this was like 18 to 19 when I ended up doing that, you know, that 90 days. And then so 19, I'm out. And that year from when I was 19 to 21 was just running the streets out in like the Attleboro area, you know, selling weed, you know, doing anything to survive, man. You know, survival
mode.
Yeah, man, just anything. And, you know, really affiliating with some like not good people, right? Like hanging out with like, you know, down there, it's like a bunch of like Crips and GDs and shit. And I was hanging out with them.
How does it all eventually come crashing down? What events lead up to that?
I had a girl that was, she was obviously like, she was a toxic one, you know? And I ended up catching a case with a buddy of mine, two of my friends that were like, you know, we grew up together. And those were like, you remember how I mentioned earlier about like the friends that like weren't really my friends? Like, those were them, you know? But as you get older and like you go through some shit, like you start forming those like bonds and connections with people over like that pain, you know what I'm saying? And we ended up like breaking into a house.
Oh shit.
Didn't know the dude was home. You know, we all signed, we go to jail, we get arrested, we all go to jail, a month later, you know, we signed the fucking, you know, 2 years suspended with 18 months probation, just get us the fuck out of here. Literally all three of us that day are out getting high.
Wow.
Got high together.
Damn, so eventually you have to violate, same thing, serve those 18 months?
Yep, and all three of us we did 2 years, three of us. So I went to Dedham for a month.
Okay, I was gonna say, okay, you went to Dedham.
I went to Dedham for a month, was like fighting people, inciting riots. They shipped me to South Bay. I did South Bay for the rest of my stay.
Okay, so what was that time like for you in South Bay? Like, what was that whole experience like? And now, I mean, even 90 days is a little bit of time, but 18 months, like what's that experience like for you, man? Was that a culture shock?
100%, yeah. You know, but it was like survival mode. Nobody's coming to save me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And South Bay's different.
Yeah.
Like,
what was the difference between South Bay and Dedham? I've never been to neither one of those places, to be honest. So I guess break that down.
Well, Dedham, there was rugs on the floor.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you had there was like a rug in the day room. People walking around with their shower shoes.
Okay, yeah.
It was like chill, dude.
Right.
There was peanut butter jars. You could get loaves of bread.
Gotcha.
It was just like honestly like a good
chill time.
Yeah, chill time.
More like a halfway house kind of, like secure, very secure halfway house kind of deal.
Yeah, with like inmate IDs and like locked doors. But my first 90 days, it wasn't easy for me, bro. Like I got picked on and I didn't really know how to move and shit. You know. So this time, that's why I got shipped out, because I was like, nobody's doing that. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
was it just like not really being familiar with how things worked and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm young, I'm 18. I was going through a lot on the outside.
So you're not trying to hear it too? When someone is trying to hip you maybe to like, oh, this is how you got to do it. Exactly. I don't got to do shit.
Exactly. Okay. You know? And yeah, I was just young and stupid. Okay. Like people liked me. I was good at ball. I was good at basketball, so I played ball. But I just remember like there was a couple dudes in there that like really tried to like go the extra mile to fuck with me, bro. And I ended up like getting into a fight that 90 days with that dude. Okay. And I went to the hole, experienced the hole, and I was like, this is the hole? This really ain't even that bad. And then I was like, oh, when I came back, I was like, it was always like I'm gonna prove myself more and more and more and more. Like the next thing's gonna be better. The next thing, so my identity and persona got lost in that like translation of like, this is who I think I am. Or something, you know?
So you get to the Bay, now you're sentenced, right? Too. I mean, what is it like as far as programming? Is there any school? I know you already got your diploma on paper, but I mean, were they offering any other classes, college, or what was going on as far as programming and education there? Is that anything you did?
Yeah, so for the first, like, you know, I mean, I got shipped out of Dedham, so for like the first 6 months, it was kind of like just trying to figure it out, right? I was on Newman. From Newman, went to the kitchen, because I was like, I'm doing a little bit of a stretch. Yeah. I was like, I could do the drug block later, you know? So I did the kitchen, got lugged out of the kitchen, went back to the threes, then went back to the kitchen, got lugged out of the kitchen again, went back to the threes, went back to the fours, went to the drug block, And it was like just a lot of back and forth.
What are these lugs for? Is it just like bringing food back from the kitchen, or are you getting in fights over there as well? What's happening with those?
The first lug was you walk to the bathroom, and I was literally, I was taking a shit during count.
Okay.
And there's just the one cop who you shouldn't have done that with. You know what I mean? Out of all the cops, everybody would have been like, yo, anybody in the bathroom? You're like, yeah, I'm taking a shit. And this one cop just got a hard on to like do anything he wants to do.
Okay.
So
that was being out of place?
Out of place, yeah. And I didn't even beat that ticket, which is crazy, bro. I was like, whatever. So I'd had to do 60 days in the threes, you know?
Yeah, got you.
And then, so I went back, and then when I went back, it was, honestly, I forget. I forget what that second lug was for, but the third lug was for, you know, moving on a Skinner, you know?
Okay. Do you end up hitting that drug block at all?
Yeah, I hit the drug block. The drug block was nice, man, because, you know, there was a bunch of dudes that, like, at the time, like, they seemed like they were kind of, like, about it, you know?
As far as taking the recovery part serious? Or?
Yeah, like, taking the classes serious. Because you think to yourself, like, Boston kids, like, bro, if they're taking anything serious, it's a miracle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they do what they want, you know? And, you know, you get little tastes of, like, you see things in there, you know? And I got into a lot of cell fights in that building, you know? Just over dumb shit, over basketball games. Actually, shout out Shane Victovich. He does a podcast out in California.
Yep.
Big dude from Reading.
Yep. So Shane is honestly, big shout out to Shane, because I saw Shane on the Fresh Out and kind of was the inspiration to be like,
nice.
Damn, we don't got this out here. Nobody doing that. So I was in Concord with Shane for a little bit, but
I locked in with Shane and he fucked me up. But it's so funny because we joke about it now. And it was over a basketball game. I was like, bro, you suck at ball. Like, get out. It was in front of everybody, you know? And like, righteously, of course, you know? And was I scared? Yeah, but did I step in? Of course, you know. And so we joke. He's a big kid, and he's about it too. But we joke about it now because, like,
isn't he military too?
Yeah, he's military, and he's just a lunatic.
Yeah, Shane don't fuck around.
So, but that's the guy you wanna step in with and earn your respect with.
Gotcha.
You know, and I did, and he respected me for it. You know, and we joke about it now, like, because I'm trained.
Right.
He does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
Like, what would happen? Man, you know? So we follow each other. He has a daughter now. It's cool to see these guys who are like menaces.
Absolutely.
And like who you've been through some shit with to like evolve into somebody different. You know.
So during your time on this block doing the drug program too, was there anything that you were starting to get from the program, and you start taking your sobriety seriously, at least in your head, or what's going on?
Yeah, I would think more. It was the more just being the experiences, like dealing with the people I was dealing with in there. It wasn't so much even the program. Like the program was like to get that good time. Right. You know, it was to like, you know, what it did show me was to like show up, listen, right? Because commitments would come in, and I liked the commitments when they came in. You know, because I was doing this AA thing since I was fucking 18, anyways. You know. I do NA now. That's the program I run. But yeah, it was mainly just like, you know, those experiences in your day-to-day routine. Absolutely. Right? Is what really was my like my money. You know.
I think it's the clarity too, not being in that drug-infused or alcohol-infused fog. You gotta just see, and giving time to everything to slow down around you, and then you know, looking in the mirror and stuff. A lot of
because you got to deal with what's going on right in front of you.
Absolutely.
You know, like you're in this fast lane for so long, and then you get slowed down and put into this fucking cage. Like this is what you have to accept. So figure it out. And honestly, man, like those little things, right? To this day, I make my bed every morning. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. That's because of jail, straight up. Brush my teeth. That's because of jail, right? Like, I know it sounds fucking heinous, but yeah, jail taught me to brush my teeth, bro.
Absolutely. You know? You need that structure, that.
Yeah. Because they'll fight you over not brushing your teeth.
So I think I was just watching, was it on Ian Bick or something? One of the COs was talking about, he asked them about, like, what do you do when you get, like, a really dirty inmate? He's like, well, I put him in the cleanest cell. He's like, the inmates usually figure that out amongst themselves. You know what I mean? They're pretty good at handling that. And it made me think of the old, you know, shower warrants and stuff you'd issue to people. Like, got to get your ass up in that fucking rain box.
Accountability. That's what it is.
Especially from like from a brotherhood though too. It's not really like nobody that's any sense of authority, you know, where you just you don't care about anything. Some you know whatever cops say or whatever, but it's amongst your own people, and they're kind of telling you like, yeah, you got to get your stuff together, brush your teeth, bro, or don't come to the breakfast table. At least don't, if you're not gonna brush your teeth that early in the morning, just don't say nothing at the breakfast table. Get your child, you know, chew and screw. You know what I mean? So do you end up hitting like the CWP? You end up hitting the minimum from there?
I do. Yeah, I ended up hitting that, and actually my first little tattoo on my back is why I got lugged out of there.
Oh, okay, damn.
So I did. It was like 15 days for that. Went back to the threes, and I'm like, bro, I'm so sick of getting lugged. I got my good time in. I did like, out of 24, I did like 21.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I got 3 months of good time. I'm good, you know?
You didn't have a parole or anything like that, or did you?
So I didn't know that, dude, I literally told parole like why I moved on the kid. You know what I mean? I'm like, bro, you know, so they denied me.
Yeah,
you know,
I got you.
I went back and everybody like kind of clowned me for that, but I didn't know. I thought they'd like it, to be honest,
the honesty, the transparency.
Yeah.
They weren't having that.
Nah.
That's good to hear them. You get out this time too, so you violated your probation, so now you're getting out scot-free, no probation, anything like that? Okay, so at this point, do you start developing like a plan for this time upon your release, or?
At this point, I'm 25, right? And there was, you know, yet no plan again. Who comes and kind of saves the day is my parents. They put me in a hotel. What do? Second day out, I fucking take a bunch of benzos. Right? Take a bunch of benzos, call my dad, start threatening him.
Yeah.
I just did the better half of 3 years almost, right? Because I ended up getting out for a month, and I went back to Dartmouth for 6 months because I caught a case. You know, I caught another B&E.
Okay.
And within a month, so you know, it was like, I had no plan, you know.
And then, so what happens with that? Do you end up getting probation on that, or just walk me through the events after the 6 months that lead up to you kind of getting it together, right? What happens? Is there a moment that you figure things out, or? So
I did those 2 years. I was out for that month. That's when I took them benzos, right? And then within that month, I ended up committing another B&E crime. Got me hemmed up, sent me to Dartmouth for 6 months, wrapped up. And this is where, you know, God intercepted in my life yet again, because, you know, at that point, like, there's a lot of like unsurety, right? There's a lot of confusion in my life, bro. There's nobody really like, dude, I'm burning bridges left and right. There's nobody really like the role model of my life was like the dudes I was hanging out with, right? So within that month, I went to AA. I went to a CA meeting actually in my hometown. And like, you get your 15 minutes of fame, especially with the women when you get out of jail. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like, that was my drive to go to that meeting. Was like, I'm gonna see some girls I grew up with. I just did. You know,
what is CA? What is
Cocaine Anonymous.
Okay.
It's like, but they run it like an AA meeting.
Okay.
But they just call it CA.
Gotcha.
You know. And so I went to this meeting, and this is where I met, you know, my first real sponsor, who like, you know, to this day is still my boy, Pugga from Dedham. You know, from if I said Hyde Park. You know, he lives in Dedham though. You know, he grew up in Dedham. Like, he'd want to smack me for saying Dedham. He's definitely HP. But you know, he held me accountable, and I can remember calling him from the Attleboro police station, being like, "What's up, dude? I know I just met you, and we were supposed to link up to do some like step work and go to a meeting, but I caught a case."
That's crazy.
Guy holds me down the whole 6 months, right? Like, putting money on my books, lets me call him. Doesn't know me through a fucking hole in the wall.
Wow.
All he knows of me is like a thief, right? And a fucking shitty person. What's he do? He picks me up. I wrap up Christmas Eve of 2015. Picks me up. I end up staying with him and his mother and his family for like 8 months.
Wow.
And his mother's basement, they were next door neighbors to his like, you know, his family.
That just goes to show you.
Bro, God like was like, yo, like, you don't know this now. This is when looking back, 2020 is always hindsight. You don't know this now, but this is me telling you that, like, you're a good person. Get it the fuck together.
Yeah.
Like somebody sees something in you, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll forever be grateful for that, man.
So how did you use these 8 months? I mean, did you try doing some positive things? Start looking for a job this time, and you start doing it the right way?
Yeah, I did. I was, you know, towards the end, I ended up slipping on that 8 months, right? The Suboxones came in. I started sniffing those. But yeah, man, this man was like a role model.
Yeah.
He had friends. He was in the union. He had a good life. Like he had problems, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody got problems, but like to someone who was as broken and lost as me, like it was finally somebody that like I could respect, and I had to shut up and listen to, you know? Plus, how could you not respect this man? Just like brought me in like a stray dog, you know? Because that's what I was, dude.
Crazy.
Right? On Christmas Eve, picked me up from jail, right? And, you know, it's like, yeah, I wanted to, he was like a dad, but like an older brother figure, you know? Like I wanted to make him proud type shit. And then like me being the insecure, fear, doubts, insecurity of a human little boy I was still at the time, when I started to slip up, I still wanted to point the finger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you. So at what point do you start to get introduced into fighting, you know, professionally, or, you know, not, you know, not in school and not getting arrested, not in jail type of deal, you know?
Yep. I am still amateur.
Okay.
I'm not pro yet.
But
that's the goal.
That's why that's why I cleared that up afterwards too.
No, it's all good. I just
in a controlled setting.
For sure, because like, yo, pros, if pros will look at you like, dude, you're still Amy.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
I got you.
And
I more meant that controlled environment.
Shit. Yeah, I mean, it was 30 years old, right? Like, so, I mean, I went through trial and error, right? From 25 up until 30, and still doing the same thing, kind of like, you know, buffet style, picking what I want to do to change, but not doing the rest. And 30 years old, like, you know, it was time to surrender. Like, I hit like a really bad spiritual low, you know. I feel like I walked through hell, like mass psychosis, not doing well, not being there for the birth of my daughter. That still ruins me to this day, you know. She don't know about it, but I do.
Yeah.
You know. But like today, everything I'm doing today is to try to like never commit those same acts again.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's like you look at this world and like, I mean, I just know the things that I've done, right? And it's like, I'm not no fucking saint, but my sons and daughter need me.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like if you do, you know, a great enough job moving forward, should be able to forgive that one little thing. And hopefully you can forgive yourself too, because that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. It's always the forgiveness of self.
Was it a friend that introduced you into a certain gym, or how does that work?
Yeah, it was so my girl talks shit a lot, because she was the one who was like always telling me to like, she introduced me to like watching the MMA fights, like the local MMA fights. We used to go because one of her friends like dated one of the pros that fought, and she'd be like, yo, this would be good for you, right? When we first started dating, I was like, yeah, I'm tough enough, I'm good, you know, I know who I am, but I really didn't, you know. And then I ended up getting into it at a program in Dover, New Hampshire with this kid. Got kicked out, but one of the girls that worked there, she knew me from before. When I got clean this time around, like May of 2022, she introduced me to a gym in Nashua, and you know, she introduced me, Nuri Shakir. Shout out Nuri, man. He, you know, it was a great experience walking into there and like trying something new, you know. And
what was it that you know, attracted you to stay, right? You went there that first time, right? I mean, a lot of people might be like, you know what, this isn't for me, it's a lot of work.
You know what attracted me to stay, and you know how I know I'm gonna be, if not like elite, I'm gonna be good at it, is that I couldn't jump rope for 30 seconds without losing breath. Smoke cigarettes, bro.
Yeah.
So that whole time, that whole process for like the first like year, it was me gaining back my like physical health from like destroying myself for years, you know?
Absolutely.
And thinking when you get clean, you're going to the gym, you're taking care of yourself. Like, buddy, you're slowly dying on the inside, you know? And it helped me quit cigarettes. It's blossomed my life into like this beautiful thing now.
Absolutely.
You know?
So what are some things that you could take from that process, training and, you know, fighting in general, you know, winning, losing, whatever it may be? What can you take from that into like life experience moving forward? Or have you been able to, you know, use things you learned from there in real life?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, bro. It's like nothing's worse than like a 230-pound dude choking you from the back and you can't get out of that. And you just got to accept it, or you got to figure out how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, you know, that's why it's so crucial to like train with people who are stronger and better than you, even though it sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I mean, that's got to be an awful feeling.
yeah. I mean, dude, what can you do? You know?
Exactly.
And that's why I'm not out here like acting a fool anymore either. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, I'd be at red lights and someone would beep behind me, and because I fucking hated life and hated everything around me so much, it was real quick for me to put the shit in park, hop out, spit in their window, see if they want any smoke. If they don't, then cool. Yeah. I just got that, you know?
Exactly,
but to who am I trying to impress and prove something to?
Yeah.
To who? Because I still, when I'm driving away from that situation, I'm still hating myself. Right? It's like...
And even if you do whatever, beat him up or whatever the case may be, that guy might not even know. It's not like he's gonna be like, "Yo, don't mess with that dude, Corey." That dude don't even know you, bro. So it doesn't even do that.
It doesn't.
You know, it doesn't really accomplish much.
No, it's like it's like the disease got me designed to think that like if I like keep myself in this bubble of like who I think I am, then I'll be safe.
Right.
But that's never the case, because what I experienced when I was in South Bay putting in work. Right, I was in Dedham putting in work, shipped to South Bay putting in work, shipped to Dartmouth on a new case putting in work. It didn't matter. Right. Like, people were still gonna test you.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, this is what this life is. And like, then, you know, not to like incriminate myself or anything, but like after that, I did what I did in certain situations, and you realize like how fake people are. Yeah. Right? Like, you're on top at one point, you think you're the man, and then all the money in the world, all the girls, the cars, all that ain't gonna fucking, the devil's a lie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And my psychosis, I'm grateful for that, was like it showed me like an outside view of like what this world kind of is, and it's like it's a spiritual warfare. Absolutely. You know. So what am I gonna be? I gotta be a light out here for people. You know, that's why I wanted to come on here and do this with you. You know?
So throughout these years, right, addiction, jail, you know what I mean, probation, all this stuff, you know, getting in the ring, fighting, training, like, what are some things that you've learned about yourself?
Well, for one, I learned that I'm you know, 3 years ago, I realized I wasn't who I thought I was for a very long time, right? It was, I struggle with listening, right? I struggle with being selfless, but I also know that I am a good person as well, because even in times of like, you know, my girl says it to me a lot, and thank God for her, man. Like, I'm telling you, like, even when I was a disaster, right, my worst state, like she'll go on her Snapchat and like she'll see memories of like, you know, a thing of flowers or something like that, you know, I sent to her, or whatever I gave to her when I was like in a bad shape, right? Yeah. And she's like, even when you were a disaster, you were still like had a heart, you know?
Absolutely, that makes sense. That's
so cool. It's one of those things that like fighting in mixed martial arts, I'll never want to quit, right? Like the cage shit might end at a certain point. It's gonna have to. You know,
can't be 60 in
there. Nah, you're not banging at 60. Even at 40, dude, you're reaching that, you know. Shit, I'm 33. I'm only almost two fights in, and I'm like fucking hurting.
Like I was telling you, I'm a little sore just from throwing the baseball around yesterday, and I work out, man. I'm in the gym about 4 or 5 times a week, just like doing regular, you know, working out. But it's just different, man. So, what's your favorite part about fighting, bro? Is it the puzzle part of it? Because it is like a little bit? Yeah, I think it's the
problem solving, like the why the fuck did I suck at this? Or why couldn't I get out of that? Or like, I'm intrigued by the why in it, you know?
Gotcha. So does it slow down for you after a while? Like, because I know, you know, sometimes you get in a fight, everything happens so fast or whatever. Well, at least for me, when like I'm thinking elementary school, when I'm just fighting out of pure emotion, almost like blacking out and just swinging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After getting in the ring so many times, does it start to slow down? Do you start to see things differently?
I'm not really experienced yet. You know what I'm saying? To the point of where like I'm starting to see shit. I don't have too much experience in the cage yet.
Got you.
When it comes down to the mats and training, oh yeah, I've slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I just did a jiu-jitsu tournament just to test my grappling a couple Saturdays ago, and I did 7 matches and I won 7 subs.
Okay.
Submissions, you know? So it was like I took gold.
Yeah, nice.
So for me, that was perfect for me because it showed me that, like, 1, I'm listening, 2, I'm understanding, and 3, like, I'm hungry.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it was a big confidence booster for me because I get wiped down in the gym by little guys all the time, bro.
Okay.
What
what advice would you give to somebody that wants to get into MMA?
Stick
or
to
any
it.
combat sport, really?
Yeah, stick to it. Like, don't give up. You know, and you know, especially if you think like you're this somebody that, if you know in your heart, like, yo, I need to be better. I need to do better. Then go in there and get your ass beat, dude.
Okay.
Go in there, get your ass beat, and figure yourself out.
What advice would you give to somebody, you know, struggling with addiction? Is that something that do you play the role now of a sponsor, or?
I go to meetings. I got a home group. You know, I have a sponsor.
Okay.
And I have a network.
Okay.
Me, right now, you know, I just don't got the time to sponsor.
Got you.
I got the time to be a real friend. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I hit you where it hurts.
Got you.
Because that's what's being done to me. That's what I want. I don't want people who are gonna sugarcoat shit.
That
you
makes
know?
sense.
Yeah, I just don't have time. But as far as like the question you're asking about
advice,
advice in the addiction is surrender. You know, like change. Be okay with like doing something like this. Dude, you wouldn't have caught me doing something, video, audio, anything.
Absolutely.
You know, and now I'm doing this with you, who you've obviously got a past too. It's like, you know Shane Victor. Like,
absolutely, man.
It's like, man, what the fuck?
So, what is it that you would want somebody to get from your story, you know, after hearing it?
Hopefully they got something. I know I can be a whack job, you know, and be kind of all over the place, but hopefully vulnerability, man. You know, being okay with just accepting like everything you've been through. Yeah. You know, because it's like there's nothing you ain't gonna impress nobody. It's me versus me. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every day.
Absolutely, and I think people, you know, should take something, especially, you know, coming from someone like you, who, you know, quote unquote tough guy, right? You get in there, you could throw your hands, you could throw your feet, you could grapple, but to speak on these vulnerable things,
for sure.
You know, because a lot of people put up this like tough guy facade and everything, and kind of society has made, you know, as a man you got to do certain things, but I think hearing the vulnerable side is I think it'll help people, man, and I think I think people will definitely get something from it. So why was it important for you to come up here and to tell your story?
Just for that, because, you know, like at the same time, man, like being an MMA fighter, you are like a solo brand, right? And I think at the same time too, I have a story, and like, you know, if anybody ever wants to know more, like my Instagram's Corey O'Reilly, the modern day Gladiator 91, and it's like, you know, I'm down to always talk to whoever, you know. Absolutely. I feel like I've been put on this earth to help. In any way, you know.
Absolutely.
So
definitely, well, you helped me come in here too and tell me your story. So, I guess before I let you go, what can people expect to see from you on June 13th if they show up, or if they stream it? Man, what can they expect to see from you?
You're definitely gonna see good energy, right? I can promise you that. I'm not gonna say a win or a loss. You never know. Obviously, you want the W, right? But I just trust that, like, my coach pushes me, bro.
Absolutely.
Right? Walter Catito, bro. He's a great man, great leader. He pushes me, man, and I know every time I evolve. Every time I compete, I evolve a little more. I understand a little bit more. So it's like, you know, to my opponent, I just know he's gonna have to deal with like a dog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, I got the pain inside me, bro, still. So
Absolutely.
you know,
Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
bro.
it's gonna be a good time.
Maximum effort, man. You heard it from the man Corey O'Reilly himself. I guess before I let you go, if you had any last words for the audience or some closing words, man.
Yeah, just trust in God, keep the faith.
Absolutely.
You know?
Appreciate
Thank you
that.
for having me.
Thank you, bro.
Sure.
All right, so you heard it right there. This is the Bounce Back Podcast. Remember, it is what it is. What's next is what you make it. On that note, we out of here and hope to see you June 13th, Wilmington, Mass, Shriners Auditorium, Combat FC. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Bounce back, ain't got a moment when they see